So this is not a school-related video, despite the fact I'm filming from my classroom. The reason being, I was too lazy to film anything at home last night. So here we are. So when I arrived here on the JET program, there were a number of things I had to deal with logistically, which were kind of just a pain in the ass. Tech-related stuff like organizing a phone number and internet, and financial-based things, so setting up a bank account, getting a credit card, anything else that you need to do in Japan. This is not so much an advice video, although I may give the odd tip throughout. It's more my own experience with these things from when I arrived, because depending on your placement, certain aspects might be easier to organize than others, or might already be organized. Your school may be varying in the level of how helpful they are to help you organize this stuff, but hopefully it'll give you an idea of the kind of things that you'll need to expect to organize, and it'll put your mind at ease a little bit, wondering like, oh, what else is there, blah blah blah. Also, just a heads up, I will not be posting a video next week because I have family visiting, so I just ain't got time to make anything. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is the tech related stuff. First, I will talk about sorting out a phone number. So you have two options basically. You can bring a phone from wherever you're coming from and get a SIM only kind of deal, or you can buy a phone on contract here. But what you're unlikely to do is to buy a phone in Japan just outright and then have a separate SIM for it. That's not really a thing in Japan. There's three big companies, Docomo, au, and Softbank, and they kind of have a monopoly on the mobile phone game, or whatever you want to call it. For the most part, you're pretty much going to be confined to getting a contract phone from them, and they ain't cheap. It's usually 2-year contracts, and it's super just like tight contracts. They're kind of a shit about it, to be honest. But if you are planning on coming here for 2 or more years and you want to get a new phone anyway, and it might make the whole process easier, then maybe go for it. You could do that. What I did was that I brought my old phone from the UK, and it took me a while to set up. What I found was that with any of the SIM-only services that I found online, and they are few and far apart, you need a credit card to apply for it and to be able to pay monthly for it. But I will get into the credit card stuff later, but that was its whole big mission. But after I had my credit card, eventually I made a Japanese friend who was very kind and very generous, and I was lucky enough that he offered to give me one of his old SIM cards, which was still active, so the contract had already run out and I could just choose the cheap package to go with it, and I've been using that ever since, which is amazing. I really should sort out my own SIM. I've been here for almost a year now. I was very lucky in that respect, but I do know that there are services which are SIM only. Maybe the only thing about that is if your phone isn't one of the mainstream ones like an iPhone or a Samsung or something, maybe just check online, see if people have had any problems in the past with your specific model putting a Japanese SIM card into it. Also, when I upgraded from my old phone, I ended up just buying a phone when I was on holiday in Taiwan, so now I have the Galaxy S10 Plus.
You look crazy, thank you, baby.
Still using that same SIM my Japanese friend gave me in that new phone as well. The other thing was setting up internet. There's a number of different options. Some of the phone contract packages are like a bundle that comes with internet as well, so that's a perfectly valid option that I know some ALTs went for that, and it was very convenient and easy to set up. Fuck, it's live now. I went with AsahiNet, which was what I came across after Googling. That was like a service that had English customer service available, and it seemed like kind of the cheapest option. To be honest, I wouldn't necessarily recommend them. The reason I went for it was because I stream a lot of video stuff. I'm constantly uploading videos and things, and they have an option for really fast like fiber optic stuff, but the setup for the Wi-Fi in my apartment was a nightmare. If it's not already installed, some cable thing in your apartment, then you have to pay a big fee to get that installed initially. When I called the English customer service at one point and I was like, I can't connect my phone to this Wi-Fi, they were like, oh, maybe it's your phone's fault. Is basically what they told me. Maybe your phone's not compatible with the Wi-Fi. So it was kind of a nightmare. Once it got going though, it was all good. After all the initial costs, I now pay 3,500-ish yen a month for that, which is I don't know, maybe like 23, 24 pounds, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. But also another option, Softbank, one of the big companies that deal with mobile phones, they also have this internet thing called Softbank Air.
Softbank Air,
which is super easy. It arrives at your apartment, you literally just plug it in and that's it, it's working. It basically works the same way as pocket Wi-Fi, but you're kind of paying long term for it. So the downsides of that are if your 4G signal is bad wherever you are, it's probably not going to be a good option for you because it's not going to be as reliably consistent signal strength wise as other Wi-Fi. But again, I know people that chose that. I'm pretty sure it's a minimum 2-year contract and it's not the cheapest, but one of the perks of that is you can bring it to work, to school, plug it in, and then you can connect all your devices to Wi-Fi at school as well, whereas mine's very much stuck at home. So I'm not saying one option is better than the other. Those are the two main ones that I looked into when I was here. I guess it just depends what works best for you, and you could Google it. There may be better options for you, or in the last year there may be newer options. And now moving on to the finance related stuff. This was quite a nightmare. Basically, when you arrive on Jet at the airport, you're supposed to be given a residence card, which is so important for like everything you do in Japan. There was a problem with the machine at our one, so they said they'd mail it to us, but we never ended up getting it for months. And it meant, for example, in the first weeks when my teachers took me to sort out a bank account, I couldn't because I didn't have my residence card. So they couldn't pay me initially as well, and it was like, Eventually we found one bank that would accept a certificate of residence, so we went to City Hall so I could get that, went back to that bank, blah blah blah, and eventually we got it sorted. Going back to earlier when I mentioned I needed a credit card to sign up for the phone contract, even for like a SIM only thing, I can't get a credit card without a bank account, but I had issues getting a bank account without a phone number. But then I can't set up a phone number without a credit card. So it's just this vicious cycle, and it was so infuriating. Anyway, eventually I got set up at one bank using other people's phone numbers temporarily in the meantime, and it was a whole big thing. And they have no English services whatsoever. Even when I use a lot of the ATMs at convenience stores and stuff, if I choose the English option, it'll just spit my credit card back out, which is a nightmare. So if I'd had more time to look into it, I maybe would have been like, no, I'd quite like to go with this specific bank, and I could have told my teachers like this is what I want, but I didn't really know, so it might be worth Googling the different banks that'll be around your area. But anyway, I got that sorted eventually. Getting a credit card was also kind of a nightmare. I couldn't apply for one through my bank because I didn't have any credit rating in Japan or something, so I got rejected. But this is my one biggest tip from this video, is that if you need a credit card, look into Rakuten card. They're great. It's so easy for foreigners to apply for one of their credit cards. They've got a point system as well, which you can spend on the Rakuten market, which has like everything, kind of like Amazon almost. I've recommended it to a lot of ALTs who have now got one as well, and yeah. So that's definitely the easiest way to get one. And then I was able to set up the phone finally. I got it sorted eventually. So yeah, Rakuten card, highly recommend. There's one little extra thing I'll pop onto the end of this finances section as well. We were told we were going to get so many different things, like the residence card and this and that, blah blah blah. Something that's never really mentioned, or that I didn't notice until months later when I was digging through some paperwork and I found like one page about it, is this My Number card. And I think a lot of jets are confused as to what that is because it's not really covered in great detail. But actually it's pretty important in specific situations, and one of the things you need it for is if you want to send money from Japan to your home country, to outside of Japan. You can send money to yourself here, no problem, but you need that My Number card to send money out. I still don't have my card, which is a pain, and I know there's other scenarios when it's important too, but I've not come across them yet. Apparently it gets sent to you within a few weeks of arriving in Japan by registered mail, so I must have signed for it because apparently I did when my teacher phoned the relevant whatever, but I don't remember getting it. And I looked and I couldn't find it anywhere, and I'm like, I wouldn't just chuck out an envelope with something that I had to sign for. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna get it sorted eventually, but keep an eye out for that and keep it safe. So I think that's everything I wanted to talk about. If you guys have any other questions about logistics and stuff that you need to sort out or whatever, drop a comment. or message me on Instagram. I will see you in 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure you guys will actually be in Japan at that point if you're coming this year. So, good luck. Have a good flight. Hope you don't die of boredom with how long it is. And yeah, see you later.